November is National Novel Writing Month, and if you've never heard of NaNoWriMo, it's where writers spend the month of November on a first draft of a novel, and the goal is to write 50,000 words in 30 days. I attempted this last year and did not win. Winning is completing the goal. So this year, I'm going to pick up where I left off, change a few things because it's been a year, I've grown, and I no longer like some of the decisions I made a year ago, and try again. So this video is going to be my one and only video covering Preptober, which is the month before NaNoWriMo, in October. Authors spend that month prepping what their novel looks like, doing the outlines, planning characters, creating playlists to listen to while you're writing your stories, and basically all of the prep that goes into NaNoWriMo is typically done during Preptober in October. So this video is me setting up my NaNoWriMo writing bullet journal. So the beginning of this video, I'll walk through the pages and the spreads I did last year. And those spreads from last year are pretty heavily inspired by, if not just straight up copies of Plant-Based Bride's NaNoWriMo journal from last year. So this year I've taken some of those elements and kind of created them to fit me better and my style better, and also added in a few other bits that I think I will like and will encourage me to keep on writing. So I think that's all I have to say for the intro, so let's get into journaling. Alright, first things first, we gotta light a candle, set the mood. For journaling, it makes the experience just that much better. And to start off, I'm going to flip through my spreads from 2021. All my spreads are going to be for the same story. I'm just picking back up where I left off last year. And these spreads are almost exact replicas of Plant-Based Bride's 2021 NaNoWriMo journal. So I'll link that video in this description below if you want to check it out. Kept it pretty simple. We just have a Preptober checklist, goal breakdown, my writing routine, which is just what I want it to look like when I sit down to write, working title, my word count tracker, and you can see when I stopped writing, and a brainstorm page, which I did not really utilize because I used Google Docs, and a very aesthetic mood board for my story, which I'm still obsessed with. It makes me feel pretty good that I'm still on the same page I was a year ago for my story. Alright, so moving on to this year's spreads. The first thing I'm going to do is create another working title page, just so that I have it separate from each year's NaNoWriMo. So this is a NaNoWriMo bullet journal, but at the same time, it's just the journal for this story. If I wanted to write another story, I'd have another journal for that. So I'm just taping down some brown craft paper, essentially doing the same thing I did last year, but instead of it being a single page, it spans across both pages. And my working title is the Medrian Archives. And if you don't know what a working title is, it's the title you give your story while you're working on it before you know what the final title will be. So mine is called the Medrian Archives, and I can't go like super in depth as to why, because it obviously pertains to my story. So here I'm just stamping the working title on. And of course, have to add a little bit of extra detail. Okay, moving on, we're gonna start the 2022 part of the journal. started by writing out the quote that I want for this year, which is write the book that only you can write. Which is true, because no matter what, no one else can write the same story that you can, because no one else is in your brain and has your thought process. But I didn't like the way I wrote it, so I covered it up with a version that I liked a lot more, and added a bit of washi tape to all of the corners to, I don't know, make it prettier to look at, I guess. Moving on to the right side, I cut some little squares out of craft paper and I'm gluing them down. And on the little squares, I'm going to write out NaNoWriMo, and I think it looks pretty cute, kind of gives a Scrabble vibe. Turning the journal, going to write out 2022, so I will never forget the year that I wrote a lot of my story. Hopefully, anyways. If I'd been really prepared, I probably would have used my sister's Cricut to cut out the 2022, but I think it turned out alright in the end. And then I know it's hard to tell, but I have little tabs again on the side. So here I'm just filling in the first tab with its color. And I will write in the description the numbers and names of the different supplies that I used. Okay, moving on to the next page. So here we're going to do a tracker for my word count, and basically every single day at the end of the day after I'm done writing, I will fill in the amount of words I wrote that day. If I don't write any words that day, I'll put 0. If I write 1,000 words, I'll write 1,000. Coming into this, I am about 10,000 words in. However, I have some changes to my story that I want to implement, which will take some stuff out, and I will basically be starting not exactly where I left off, but a little bit in the middle of what I wrote. So probably roughly 5,000 words in. So I'm not going to count the 10,000 from last year and this year's goal, but I'm also not going to beat myself up if I only write 40,000 or if I only write 200. I want this to be a very low pressure situation so I don't get burnt out. I'm a full-time college student, so I don't really expect to have enough time every day to write a couple thousand words. So here I'm just labeling 1 through 30 for each day of November and separating those out by weeks, just so I can look at it in smaller chunks. And the goal, like I've already mentioned, is 50,000 words in 30 days. On the next spread, we have a Milestone Tracker. I will use this to track once I've reached different milestones in the writing journey. So 1,000 words is a big accomplishment, 5,000 words, 20,000 words, all the way to 50, and then I added a few extra because I honestly had the space on my page. But obviously, if I go over, I want to be able to celebrate that as well. I don't expect, honestly, to even reach the 50,000 words, but I'm going to try my best. So I just drew out little boxes, and eventually you'll see I wrote in them each milestone. And as I complete them, I plan on filling them in with a marker and writing the date that I completed that milestone underneath the box. And then at the end, I can write the total number of words that I wrote in November. And here I'm coloring in this page's tab with a green color. And on this next page, I have a goal breakdown. So this is something that I had last year, and I think it's just a neat way to see the breakdown of those 50,000 words. So obviously the ultimate goal is 50,000 words in 30 days. But from there we have a weekly goal. So on here I have 5 weeks, but that last week is only 2 days. So each week is roughly 12,000 words, except for week 5, it's only 2,000. And then the daily goal is roughly 1,667 words. And when you break it down like that, it sounds way less scary and much more manageable. And honestly, it really is. It's not that crazy. I was really impressed last year when I hit 10,000 words, and however long it took me, I'd never done that before. And then we have milestone rewards, which each 10,000 words I write, I want to reward myself in some small way. So for an example, I'll let myself buy a Christmas book. And on the right side, we have manifestations. They're kind of more words of affirmation, but I realized that after the fact. So my examples are: my writing brings me joy, there is space for my story, I am capable of achieving anything I put my mind to, I am supposed to write, I let go of fear, and time is my friend. I think these will be helpful when I'm having a bit of imposter syndrome and feel incapable. And then moving on to the next page. I wasn't quite sure what I wanted to do, but I ended up making a character list and a list of places/things. So I have these lists already on my Google Drive, where I keep all of my info for my story. But I think it might be kind of nice while I'm writing to have this page open in front of me with the list of names of characters and places or things. Buildings have names too. And that way I don't have to go back and forth between tabs when I'm like, oh yeah, what's that person's name? What's the name of this castle? Instead, it'll just be right in front of me. So for character list, I have name and then info. So any important info that will just help remind me the importance of this character, what they are to the main character, etc. And then on the list of places/things, we have name and then a question mark, because I didn't want to stamp out a longer sentence. But essentially, what is it? Why is it important? Where is it? And things like that. I plan on doing some vlogs during NaNoWriMo. Right now I don't know if I'm going to do just a month-long vlog or weekly vlogs, what that will look like, but I will keep you updated in those vlogs on if I use this spread, how helpful I find it, as well as the rest of the spreads for the journal. Moving on to the next page, here I decided to get down into 4 different sections. One for the beginning of the story, the middle of the story, the end of the story, and future, because this is a story that I don't think is going to be complete in one novel, so it needs something, like if I have an idea, it needs a section for that. Essentially, what I plan on using this for is writing down the basic information of what happens in each, like 2 or 3 sentences, and then being able to use the rest of the space to write down random thoughts for each. And then lastly, we have the first page of the notes section. You see, I was just writing out notes, and then I ran out of storage, so it'll be complete in a few seconds. But from there, I'll be able to just add as many pages as I need. Go back through to the beginning and flip through what we did today. I'm really happy with how everything came out, and I cannot wait for November to get back into my world and my characters and start writing again. If you're participating in NaNoWriMo this year, please let me know in the comments, and I'll see you later. Thanks for setting up my NaNoWriMo writing journal with me for 2022, and if you have any suggestions or tips for how to get through NaNoWriMo successfully, please leave them in the comments below, and I'll see you in the next one. Hopefully it's not 10 months later. Bye!